For 2 years, the people who claim rulership over us made our lives miserable by foisting an unbacked claim, a non-disprovable hypothesis, that a scary, ultra-contagious, super deadly virus was among us and required serious action. Of course, that claim violated the principle of all sound governments that extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence. Yet the people of America allowed their government to lock them down and impose draconian measures upon them for the better part of 2 years in the name of protecting public health. Foremost among these measures was the ubiquitous PCR test, which was constantly being administered to those who, for the most part, had no visible sign or symptoms of being physically ill. Yet like lemmings lining up for a cliff dive, multitudes stood in the queue for their rapid test, which allowed the government to falsely claim the dreaded C virus was still a problem, while also providing a pretext for continuing the scam. When finally the average American had had enough of the kabuki theater, the protocols were dropped, a full 3 years after the episode first began, and that was that. At least, that's what most people believed. As it turns out, the government had by now grown so addicted to the act of testing the visibly non-sick and declaring the need for further emergency measures and interventions that they turned their attention away from the human world to the animal kingdom. Thus, the bird flu scamdemic got underway. And now, for the past 3 years, the federal government has been actively testing poultry flocks for signs of avian flu, or H5N1. Now, this, of course, is on top of tests for swine flu, or H1N1, and bovine influenza, a virus known as BIAV. Basically, the entire spectrum of the nation's meat, egg, and milk supply is constantly being tested for what amounts to a fragmentary series of diseases. When even a single member of a flock of commercial chickens is found to have bird flu, the entire flock is culled in order to eradicate the imaginary problem. And over the last couple of years, this practice has resulted in a drastic reduction of the country's egg supply and a massive increase in the cost of eggs and chicken meat, not to mention other meat and dairy products. What this entire psychopathic exercise amounts to is a full-on economic assault on the middle-class American, which of course is part and parcel of the long-term plan to transform America from a prosperous, free market-based system to a totalitarian one. And at the rate they're proceeding, that agenda will likely be realized well ahead of their stated goal of the year 2030. For those of you who have been waiting for the other shoe to drop in the form of another 2020-style scamdemic, you can stop waiting for the return of masks and PCR tests. It's already here in what is tantamount to a government-imposed shutdown of the poultry industry, and you can see its effects every time you go to the grocery store or to a restaurant. Basically, the game they're playing now is to bankrupt what's left of the middle class through persistent inflation. Other than prayer, I'm not sure anything can be done to stop the tyranny at this point. No one in Washington can save us, and I doubt anyone, including the president, has any real intention of doing so. So my prescription is this. If you're not a Christian, now would be a good time to become one, as only Jesus can see you through the troubled times that undoubtedly lie ahead. This is South Bay. Thanks for listening.